I'd like to move on to Aura Energy. What I'd like to do is also to introduce Bryan Dixon. And Bryan Dixon is a non-executive director of Aura Energy. Aura Energy is a company that I know pretty well, having initiated on it earlier this year. The important thing about... I learnt a great deal from Aura Energy, and it's about the role of the metallurgist, where you can take interesting, what seemingly looks like moderate grade resources and turn them into high grade post-beneficiation. And it's all about how the metallurgists are taking advantage of particular physical properties to make a project from something that might be ordinary to something special. Anyway, Bryan's got a background in chartered accountancy, but has had a long association in building exploration companies into producing miners. And that's the theme with Aura Energy, that the whole board and management is geared going from exploration to feasibility, now into the development mode. And perhaps Bryan can tell us a little bit about that, but I'll put it over to Bryan right now. Thank you very much for joining us.
First off, thanks to PAC Partners for putting on this Uranium Forum today. Thanks for everyone who's attended. First up, I'd just like to make apologies on behalf of Dave Woodall and Will Goodall, our executive team, who can't be here today. They're in Mauritania moving our Tiris project forward. Yeah, I'll give you the presentation. And so Aura Energy is developing a pipeline of world-class uranium projects, and we aim to be a significant uranium producer in the coming years. So going through our portfolio of projects, today I'm going to talk mainly around the Tiris Project. Tiris is a very advanced uranium vanadium project in Mauritania. It's had a DFS completed, mining and environmental permits are in place. We're currently doing a feed study and we're in the process of upgrading the resources reserves and publishing an expansion study as well. I'll talk briefly also about our huge Hagen uranium vanadium project in Sweden, and over the last couple of months there's been some developments in Sweden that could see us bring some real value to that Hagen project. And very briefly I'll just touch on our gold project at Tassia South, also in Mauritania. Yeah, that sits to the south of Kinross's 20 million ounce gold project. So I mean, all of these projects sit in a company with a $150 million market cap. I'd call it a deep value opportunity. Tiris, you can see we're aiming to bring that online over the next 2 years at stage one, which is a scale of about 850,000 pounds of uranium per annum. Phase two, we're looking to increase that to 3 million pounds per annum of production, and that is a very serious, significant scale project. So I'm not going to talk too much about the supply and demand of uranium. I think Guy and Bram can do a much better job around that than myself. However, you know, Tiris phase one, Tiris phase two, we're aiming to bring them online during a time of uranium deficit in supply. Hopefully over the next 6 to 12 months, we can also put a timetable around the development of the huge Hagen Swedish project. Right now, uranium represents around 10% of the world's electricity. Electricity over the next 8 years is expected to grow 300%. That alone is going to drive uranium demand. 40% of the world's Electricity is currently produced from coal. Renewables are having a lot of money spent on them. Baseload needs to come from somewhere. I think a lot of people in the room think uranium is the solution to providing that green baseload power. So moving on to the Tiris project itself, this is a near-term, low-cost opportunity. It's permitted from a mining and environmental point of view. The last permit we need is the export licence, and I'll talk you through that as we get deeper in. Tiris is aiming to be one of the lowest cost hard rock uranium plays going around. It's got a number of significant advantages. It's very cheap mining costs. I'll talk you through that. The resource upgrades very, very well and concentrates, and that is one of the competitive advantages of this project and why it's got such low costs. Right now, there's only 20% of the resource that's being used in the stage 1 mine plan, and over the coming months we'll demonstrate the ability to grow and to fully monetize that resource. Mauritania itself, very established mining code in both hard rock and oil and gas. There's a number of companies operating there. Kinross have been there operating at Tasiast for many years. You've got BP, ExxonMobil, First Quantum are also in there. Total. There's a significant mining presence and oil and gas presence. Mauritania itself is very pro-mining, and they're looking to develop their mining industry. The Tiris Uranium Project sits right up to the northeast. It's in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and to some extent that's a challenge on logistics, but it has helped significantly in getting the approvals and the permits for that project. So why is Tiris a low-cost opportunity? And one of the main reasons, very low mining costs. There's no drill and blast. You can see we're right in the middle of the Sahara Desert there. There's no crushing and grinding required, and the pits only go in the order of 4 to 8 metres deep. So very shallow, flat-lying deposit. Stage 1 of this operation will involve 4 trucks, 50-tonne trucks, 1 excavator, and only operating on 1 shift. So very, very easy mining. The other thing that really stands us apart from our peers, this deposit is a carnotite uranium deposit, similar to what you see in Western Australia and what you see in Namibia. The difference being is it's a very, very young carnotite, and hence the reason we don't have to crush and grind it, which reduces a lot of the capital. But the biggest benefit of all is the ability to concentrate it. So we're not crushing, we're not grinding. We put that ore into a rotary scrubber, so we're basically just adding water into a front-loading washing machine. And when it comes out of that, we screen it through a 150 micron screen, so just wet screening, old technology. 80% of the mass is rejected, goes back into the pit. The other 20% contains 90% of the uranium. So at this stage, we have a very, very high-grade product. It's you're looking at 1,500 parts per million uranium. And so all of a sudden, you've gone from a lowish grade deposit to a very high-grade deposit. And what that actually means, so remember, you've got no crushing, no grinding, which is generally a very large part of your capex. The other thing is, all of a sudden, this back end only has to be done on 250,000 tonne per annum. And so effectively, the amount of capital you're spending on the back end is significantly lower. So this is what really sets our project, apart from the other hard rock uranium plays, in this case we're soft rock, which has got significant benefits. So this is what's been achieved over the last 10 years, working counter-cyclical since Fukushima, and as many uranium developers have had to do. We're seeing the benefits of that work to date. So yeah, there's been a definitive feasibility study that's been completed, mining environmental permits in place. Final investment decision can be very, very soon. So we're currently doing a FEED study, which will be finished next quarter. And we're also running an expansion study to take the project four times the capacity. And we're running that in parallel to the FEED study. So the catalyst to uranium production, we've just finished a 10,000 metre infill drill program which will upgrade the resource, add to the confidence, and should convert a big chunk of that 56 million pounds into reserves. We've got a water solution. I've mentioned the FEED study's underway. That'll be finished by March. The expansion study, hopefully we're in a position to publish that early next year, January, February. So, yeah, Tiris, stage one is very compelling. 1.25 million tonne per annum operation. There's only 12 million of the 56 million pounds sitting in that mine plan. You've got a high-grade leach feed, which is the important number to look at, not the resource grade. So yeah, 1,500 parts per million kind of puts us way up the curve on most of the other hard rock producers. So this all equals a low capex and low opex. The opex we're looking at is an all-in sustaining cost of $29 a pound. Now, as we demonstrate the expansion case and look to take the production fourfold, you will see that cost come down significantly. So on the resource, 56 million pounds, historically 65% of the inferred resource converts into measured and indicated, and 76% of the measured and indicated converts into reserve. So because you've got a flat-lying deposit, the strip ratio is 2. So it's a matter of grade as to whether or not it comes into the reserves, and that's why you're seeing such a high conversion of resource into reserves. Now, historically, there's been about $15 million spent on this project. Our geologists believe they can keep growing the resource at less than 10 cents a pound, which is phenomenal. So we've demonstrated enough material for stage one. Very shortly, we think we can demonstrate enough to do a minimum of 3 million pounds per annum. And there's the ability to keep expanding this resource in the desert with our known exploration techniques. So we're not doing anything different, just applying the same exploration techniques, and we'll continue to grow that resource very, very cheaply. So that 10,000 metres is basically just gone into infilling inferred, and looking at upgrading it into indicated resource, which will allow us to convert it into probable reserves. So the resource upgrade should be announced next month. The reserve upgrade should be announced in January. So Tiris is a modular design. We're looking to build it, modulise it, ship it into the desert, bolt it into place. 12% of the phase one capital is already of the scale to allow us to run at the expanded case, and when we move from phase one to phase two, the capex is going to be very, very capital efficient. significantly more capital efficient than the $75 million US required for stage 1. The other thing you're going to see on the OPEX costs, 55% of the OPEX cost is fixed. So when you take the production fourfold, you're going to be spreading the majority of the costs over 4 times the production. And that will allow us to get the $29 a pound ASIC cost down significantly. On top of that, during the feed study, we're going to add in vanadium credits, and that will also lower the costs. And so this is where we think we can be operating in the bottom third of the world's uranium production, and right at the lower end of the hard rock guys. So plenty of news flow over the next 2 quarters. I've spoken about the feed study, the expansion plan, resource upgrades, reserve upgrades. This can be development ready very, very quickly. And then the missing piece in the puzzle will be the financing. I'm not going to talk too much from an ESG point of view. Our chairman, Phil Mitchell, David Woodall, Will Goodall are all currently in Mauritania advancing the project, and they're well focused on the ESG and what we can do for the community, what we can do for Mauritania, and we believe we can do this very environmentally. It involves we're uranium mining in the middle of the desert where there are no people. The concentrate, which is very inert, will be shipping out 4 containers a month. Just quickly on the Hagen project, this is 800 million pounds of uranium. Up until recently, well, currently there is a uranium mining ban in Sweden. 2 months ago there was a change of government, and the Conservative coalition are pro-nuclear power. They're talking of building new reactors in Sweden. With the energy crisis going on in Europe at the moment, there's a big need to source their uranium in country. So there's a new uranium bill being pushed to develop more uranium reactors, and we're hoping to see some movement on the mining side in the next year. Quickly on the gold assets, Kinross control the top third of this belt, where they've got 20 million ounces and they're producing 400,000 ounces of gold a year. Aura control the southern third of that belt, which is a huge land package. There are a lot of artisanal workings there. There's a drill program that's already commenced in drilling that out, and we're preparing Aura's gold assets for a spin out, hopefully in the new year. So all this for a market cap of 150, just under 150 million, and just under 9 million in the tin. There's another 5 million in options that are in the money that should come in over the next 12 months. The board, over the last 12 months, there's a lot of effort going into strengthening the people involved. Phil Mitchell is a seasoned mining executive. He was part of the executive team running Rio's iron ore assets in the Pilbara. He moved to London, where he's in charge of M&A for Rio. He now works for Robert Friedland. Dave Woodall has come on board last month. Dave's a builder of mines, a mining engineer by background. Loves to get stuck into building mines. He's looked at these assets. He likes them. He wants to move these forward. Dave's ex-Rio, ex-FMG, was with Newcrest. More recently, he was running a rare earths company. Patrick Mutz, 40-year uranium veteran. His experience is mainly on the processing side, very seasoned all-round executive. He's currently the Managing Director of Image Resources, where he built a very similar style mine in mineral sands just out of Perth. Warren Mundine will be talking a bit later. I'll let Warren introduce himself. And Will Goodall is the Chief Operating Officer. Will's been pivotal in driving the company forward over the last 12 months and has done a magnificent job, what's been achieved in a very short time frame. Will is a metallurgist by background and has done a lot of work with ANSTO in looking at the processing side of this project. So that's the team, the projects. This is a deep value opportunity. If you're looking for leverage in the uranium space, this is about the most leverage you can get. It's also got a near-term production opportunity, so we're moving that forward as quickly as we can.
Yeah, Bryan, you mentioned the missing piece, the puzzle, which is financing.
Yep.
How big or small is that?
Well, the capex on stage 1 is $75 million US, so that's half today's market cap. I think there's a number of ways we can finance this project, and we're weighing them up. I think the opportunity over the coming months is going to become a lot larger, and at the right uranium price, this Tiris Project has the ability to be a significant production story. And Hagen, the leverage you get out of that is remarkable. We're working through the financing of this. DFS is done, expansion study will add to that, so watch this space.